He bought a Rolex at 23. Was it a power play or a paycheck killer? Now, depending on who you ask, he's either a visionary or an idiot, a financial genius or a guy who just blew a down payment on a shiny wrist trophy. But here's the twist. I know both sides of this story, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly when buying luxury makes you richer and when it makes you broker. I'm going to tell you about two guys, both 23. Both bought expensive watches. One used it as fuel to build a 7-figure business. The other? He's still making payments on credit cards 3 years later, wondering why he can't get ahead. Same purchase, opposite outcomes. The difference? One understood the psychology of money. The other fell for the trap. So which is it? Smart move or dumb flex? Let's break this down, because I'm about to piss off both the live below your means crowd and the flex at all costs idiots. Look, before we jump to judge, let's set the stage. He didn't just randomly buy it after a good week at work. This guy had been grinding since he was 16. Side hustles, freelancing, saving, investing small amounts. At 23, he decided to buy a Rolex. $12,000. Cash, no debt, no financing, just straight up bought it. So was it dumb? Here's where people get it twisted. Most folks will scream, "That's a terrible investment. You should have bought an index fund. That money could have grown into a college fund for your future kid." And sure, in terms of pure returns, yes, a Rolex isn't going to beat the S&P 500. But here's the kicker. Not every purchase is about ROI in dollars. Some are about ROI in identity. And that's where this gets interesting. See, money isn't just math. It's psychology. It's identity. It's storytelling. For some men, a Rolex isn't about time. It's about timing. It's about marking a moment in life where they went from just surviving to owning their future. Let's go deeper. The same people who trash this guy for buying a Rolex probably have $50,000 in student loans for a degree they never used, a leased BMW they can't afford, or spend $400 a month on DoorDash and coffee. But because those expenses are normal, no one bats an eye. This dude buys a luxury watch, paid in full, and suddenly he's reckless? That's the trap. We judge based on surface, not strategy. Now let me be clear. If you're broke and buying a Rolex, that's not a flex. That's financial suicide. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, your money belongs in assets, not accessories. But stick with me, because there's another side to this story that changes everything. But if you're ahead, if you've built something, if you've saved, invested, and still have financial runway, and you want to reward yourself in a way that fuels your ambition, that's a different game. Because here's the truth. For some men, a Rolex becomes a symbol, not to show off, but to remind themselves, I built this. I earned this. I didn't wait for permission. You don't get rich by living in fear. You get rich by being intentional. And sometimes being intentional means buying something that makes you feel like the man you're becoming. Let me tell you a quick story. A guy I knew bought his first luxury watch at 25. Same criticism. But here's what happened. That watch made him sit up straighter, dress sharper, think bigger. He started walking into rooms he used to feel too small for. Not because of the watch, but because of what it meant to him. His confidence multiplied. And guess what? So did his income. See, money isn't just for survival. It's a tool to build your identity. And identity drives behavior. Behavior drives results. Now let's talk facts. A Rolex, depending on the model, can hold value. Some even appreciate. So while it's not an investment in the traditional sense, it's not necessarily a liability either. But again, that's not the point. This is about how men relate to money. Too many guys were raised to believe that spending on yourself is selfish, that treating yourself is immature, that luxury is shameful. But then we wonder why we don't take risks, why we play small, why we wait for permission. You're allowed to build a life that feels good, not just looks good on paper. Remember those two guys I mentioned? Guy A, the smart one, bought his Rolex after hitting his first 100K year. He wore it to every business meeting, every networking event. Every time he needed to remember he belonged in the room. That watch became his armor, his reminder, his fuel. Today he owns 3 businesses, and that expensive watch represents less than 0.1% of his net worth. Now, let's flip it. If you're buying a Rolex to impress people, it's dumb. If you're drowning in debt and still flexing luxury, it's dumb. If your self-worth is tied to what's on your wrist, Dumb, dumb, dumb. Guy B, he bought his watch on credit to post on Instagram, to look successful instead of becoming successful. 3 years later, he's still paying it off while working the same job, making the same money, living the same life. That watch became his prison, not his power. Think about athletes. After winning a championship, they don't get a savings bond. They get a ring, a trophy, a physical representation of their grind. No one calls that dumb. What's different about buying a Rolex after hitting your first 6 figures? Or finally getting your business out of survival mode? Or beating generational poverty? The truth is, the world wants you to stay humble. Stay small. Stay practical. But sometimes, you've got to remind yourself who the hell you are. Sometimes you need physical proof of your progress. Still, it's not about the watch. It's about the reason behind the watch. Because there's another side to this story. The man who buys the Rolex too soon. The guy who uses it to patch insecurity, to flex for social media, to look successful instead of becoming successful. That man's in trouble. Luxury without discipline is a recipe for disaster. Luxury with discipline, that's fuel for greatness. So here's the real takeaway. Don't chase status, chase substance. If buying something motivates you to work harder, push further, stay sharp, maybe it's worth it. But if it's just a distraction, a cover-up, or a coping mechanism, you're only lying to yourself. Every dollar you spend is a vote for the man you're becoming. Are you voting for the man who earns luxury, or the man who fakes it? Here's what most people don't understand about luxury purchases. They reveal who you really are. If you're insecure, that Rolex becomes a crutch. If you're confident, it becomes a crown. You want to buy a Rolex? Cool. Earn it. Make it mean something. Make sure it's paid in full. Make sure your bank account is healthier than your Instagram feed. Make sure your future self won't regret it. And most importantly, make sure it's for you. Because in the end, no one cares what's on your wrist. They care what you do with your life. Guy A understood this. His watch was a private victory, not a public performance. Guy B got it backwards. His watch was a public performance masking a private failure. And if that watch becomes a reminder of who you're becoming, maybe it's the smartest purchase you ever made. But if it's a mask, rip it off and get back to work. So, what's it going to be? Are you going to buy luxury as a reward for success, or as a substitute for it? This is Financial Masculinity, where we build wealth that matters, not just wealth that looks good on camera. Share this with someone who needs to hear the difference between earning luxury and faking it. Next week, I'm breaking down the 5 luxury purchases that actually make you money, and the 5 that will keep you broke forever. One of them will shock you. Don't miss it.